Welcome back. We're joined now by Representative Mark Alford. He is a Republican of Missouri, and he's on the Armed Services Committee and also the Agriculture Committee. Representative, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Can you tell us what's the latest on this CR and tomorrow night's federal spending deadline?
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry that we got to this point to begin with. Had we gotten the 12 appropriation bills out of the House and over to the Senate, we may not be here. We were successful in getting 5 off the House floor, all 12 out of the Appropriations Committee this year, which is a big improvement over last year. We've got to get back to regular order. We are here because we could not get the remaining 7 passed in our own conference. We did not have the votes to do that, so they did not put them on the floor. So now we're here after a continuing resolution before the election. We did not want a government shutdown before the election. I thought that would have put President Trump in jeopardy of losing the presidential election. And now we're here on December 20th facing a possible government shutdown. We cannot afford a government shutdown. I'm not in favor of one, but I'm also not in favor of bloated spending. This was a deal cobbled together by Speaker Mike Johnson, who I believe was doing the best he could. We needed relief for our farmers. I come from a very ag-rich state, Missouri. We have 87,000 farms in Missouri, and many of those farmers are going out of business. Did you know that we're losing 1,000 farms a month in America? And because of the high input costs, I think directly attributable to this President Biden and his administration, the war on fossil fuels, the high input costs have driven a lot of farmers out of business, and the low commodity prices. We have suffered through droughts in many parts of our farming communities. In my district in particular, we've been at a D4, which is the most severe level of drought for 3 years in a row. And with farmers going out of business, we needed this money for our farmers so that they could get the insurance that they need and they could get the loans from the banks. The banks, the farm credit institutions, are very skittish about loaning to people who can't pay them back, as they should be.
So right now, those farmers are not going to get that extra money. They're the people that are waiting for disaster relief from the hurricanes aren't going to get the money.
But that was what was put into this bill. No, I was for this
deal
to have this in the package on the continuing resolution and a 1-year extension of the farm bill in total. But the problem is when Mike Johnson went to negotiate this deal, the Democrats wanted something in exchange because they did not want to just help the farmers. I don't know why. They don't see food security as national security. They don't see the issue in losing 1,000 farms a month in America.
What were some of the things that the Democrats wanted to put in that you were
against? They wanted this pay raise, which I think is stupid. Why in the world, and I've heard some of your callers today, very intelligent callers, why do we deserve a pay raise? We haven't had a cost of living adjustment in 16 years, and I know that there are some people who are upset about that, but we've got to do our job first. We have got to show the American people that we are on their side.
What is it that's stopping you from doing your job? Like, why weren't those bills taken care of a long time ago? You have a whole year.
We have people within our own conference who have put up roadblocks to passing them. They passed out of committee in a bipartisan manner, and we got 5 done on the House floor. For instance, the Ag Appropriations Bill. I'm hoping to get on the Ag Appropriations Subcommittee, and we'll be working on this next year. There are some in our conference who don't believe in what they call subsidies. We call them safety nets for our farmers, the crop insurance and the other programs. And without those, they can't get the loans that they need to operate. And so there are some in our conference who believe that farmers should just act like any independent business, that they should not have any help from the federal government, and so they would not vote for the Ag Appropriations Bill. That's just one example.
Elon Musk had been tweeting furiously yesterday against the deal, even before President Trump commented on it, and saying that essentially there should not be any voting in Congress until January 20th. How do you react to that?
I think that's troublesome because if we wait till January 20th to get anything done, we have not cleared the deck for President Trump to do his job. There are things that we have to do now. The reconciliation process, which is very technical for some people at home, but basically under the Byrd rule in the Senate, we're able to pass things related directly to a budgetary matter and send it over to the Senate, and we only need a simple majority rather than 60 votes.
One of our callers, a few of our callers were talking about the enormous power that Elon Musk has and how he has said very clearly that he will put his resources, which are considerable,
Yes,
against any lawmaker and primary them if they go against President-elect Trump's policies. How do you react to that? Does that concern you?
Well, it does a little bit. Look, I respect what Elon Musk is doing, and Vivek Ramaswamy and the Doge. I'm part of the Doge caucus. We are looking at every avenue of cut that we can make. I can give you example after example if we had more time, especially in the SNAP program, Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, food stamp program, $34 million a day in waste, abuse, and fraud. But we've got to make sure that we, as elected representatives, are voting for our district and our conscience. And we also want to follow what President Trump, he is the leader of this MAGA movement. He is the leader of America First. And when I talk about America First, I mean, let's make us strong first so we can help others be strong.
Congressman, you would vote your conscience even if it's against future President Trump?
We are in alignment.
Even if that means you get primaried?
Even
by Elon Musk's considerable
What
resources.
I'm saying is that I am in alignment with President Trump, and we need to hear from him. I was asking his staff yesterday, what does President Trump, how does he feel about this continuing resolution? We thought we might not get an answer. Now he has given us an answer, and I'm in alignment with that. We need a clean CR with very few things attached. President Trump feels like we do need, we've got to have aid for the people who are suffering, who are living in tents right now in Asheville, North Carolina, or in the mountains there, who have been adversely affected by this hurricane. And I was just there last month, and I have seen the devastation there. We need disaster aid. We need economic security aid for our farmers.
And if you'd like to join our conversation with Representative Mark Alford, you can. It's the lines are by party. So Republicans are on 202-748-8001, Democrats 202-748-8000, and Independents 202-748-8002. An article on the Hill, it says the House Republican, which is you, eyes Medicare and Social Security for Doge cuts. Are you willing to cut Social Security and Medicare?
No. Well, define cuts. I'm not, anyone who is currently on Social Security right now or is paying into the system, actively working in the United States of America, paying into Social Security, we should not touch that at all. I did an interview earlier last week talking about long-term and on the front end. If people are living longer, should we talk about moving the retirement age back? Because Social Security is going to be insolvent within 10 years if we do nothing. I think it needs to be scored differently. Instead of a 10-year, maybe a 30-year outlook for Social Security by the CBO. But we've got to make some adjustments. If people are living longer and retiring later, I think that makes sense to the average, common, reasonable, rational person in America. But no, we should not cut any benefits to anyone currently on Social Security or paying into the system. That is a contract that they have with the federal government. They have put this money in, and they expect to get what they deserve.
Let's talk to callers.
All right.
On the line for Democrats, Joel is in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. Good morning.
Good morning. The first thing I'd like to say is that your representative said that about the war on fossil fuel. Well, I believe that we are currently producing more fuel in the United States now under Biden than we ever did under Trump. And I believe that you, C-SPAN has read articles to that point. I also believe that we have done really well under President Biden, and that from what President Biden was left, you can't really compare what President Biden was left to what President Trump was left, or former President Trump and now incoming President Trump. Because President Biden is the only president that I am aware of that was elected into his office, into his term of office during a pandemic. So you can't compare what he did to any other president, because President Biden is the only president that was elected in such a situation.
All right, Joel.
Sir, I appreciate your passion for this current administration and this current president. I do not share that passion. I do not share that viewpoint that the energy sector was doing better under Biden. It was very clear that even before President Biden took the oath of office, he signaled to the fossil fuel industry that he was going to shut down the pipelines, shut down drilling in some parts of America, shut down the federal leases on some lands, and that oil is a commodity. When President Trump left office 4 years ago, the price of gas in my neighborhood was $1.78 a gallon. It shot up during the Biden administration to well over $5 and $6 a gallon in some parts of our nation. And let me tell you what happens to our farmers in my district and in my state. Fertilizer is made from petroleum products. That increases the cost of that fertilizer, increases the input cost for our farmers, and that is why a lot of them are not able to do business and not able to make a reasonable profit to stay in business. And so, yes, this President Biden, pretty much declared a war on fossil fuels because of the climate change concerns that he has. I believe a lot of that is a hoax. We could get into that later. That's a much larger topic. But as far as I'm concerned, I cannot wait for us to, Trump says drill, baby, drill. Yeah, we're going to open up pipelines. We're going to start fracking again. We're going to start drilling in places where we should be drilling responsibly for our environment, but also responsibly for the American people.
Here's Ron in Round Lake, Illinois, Republican. Ron, good morning.
Yeah, how you doing?
Good.
One of the problems our government has is it's just common sense. If they would just pass a resolution that was nothing but clean bills, it's the garbage that's added on the backside, and then you guys title it something else so they could use. I mean, it's both sides. I'm not saying it's either. I mean, I'm a Republican. I think we're in a great position. Don't know where President Biden's at right now and why he's hiding in his basement again. But if we just had clean bills, the title, the bill, that's it, there would be a lot less deadlock in our government, and we could get something done. You guys keep adding that pork at the end, and it's all hidden, and that's why people vote against it. But then they're saying, "Oh, you're voting against an army, a bill for our defense." Well, yeah, it's because of the garbage on the backside. It's not because you hate the Defense Department. Okay. So I just go hang up and let you answer.
Ron, thank you for that comment. You're absolutely right, and that's why we, in return to regular order 2 years ago, under the leadership of Kevin McCarthy as Speaker, made it a point that we would go to single subject bills. Every bill has to go through the Rules Committee before it hits the House floor, and they make sure that the subjects are germane. So you can't attach something crazy to a bill right now. There have been bills that have not gotten on the House floor, or amendments that members have wanted to offer to certain bills, both Democrats and Republicans, that have not made it on those bills because they are not germane to the bill. Part of the regular order of Congress is things come up through committee, they go to the Rules Committee, amendments are added that's determined what type of debate there'll be on the House floor, and then it goes to the House floor. And so it's very important that we have single subject bills, and that's why these continuing resolutions with things attached that have nothing to do are so upsetting to us and to you, the American people. And we've got to get that right. And thank you, Ron, for that comment.
We have a text for you from Riker in Carpentersville, Illinois. So the House intended to shut down, just not during the election because it would have affected Trump's campaign. No. Sounds like Trump first, not America. I
appreciate that. And if I misspoke, that's on me. We we don't want to shut down. And here's why. I don't care if it's before an election or after an election or before Christmas or after Christmas. It's not good for our troops. Number one, we have Fort Leonard Wood in our district, in the southeastern quadrant of our district. 80,000 personnel go through there each year. They would not get paid until after the shutdown is over. And typically what happens in the past is immediately the national parks put up signs around Washington. It becomes front page news and on C-SPAN and other places. And Republicans get blamed for the shutdown. It's never the Schumer shutdown, when actually a lot of the fault lies at his feet for the intransigence in the Senate and their lack of action. That's what happened to the Farm Bill this year. Debbie Stabenow, the leader of the Ag Committee in the Senate, didn't come back with any serious Farm Bill text until late in the game, late this fall. And so we passed it in May. Our chairman, G.T. Thompson, was trying to get a deal done, and here we are with no Farm Bill.
You've said several times that you don't want the government to shut down.
No.
Are you confident that in the day and a half that you've got left, that you'll be able to get a deal and get it past the Senate and to the president?
Look, I'm not in leadership. I'm not in these top-level discussions. I know Mike Johnson our speaker, does not want a government shutdown.
But he also wanted that deal that got killed.
He wanted the deal, so now you got to start over. And here's the problem. Had we gone with just a clean CR without these added things for agriculture, which we need, and disaster relief, which we need, I wish the Democrats would see that. Let's just attach those things to the CR and move on, because we both need that for the survival of America. But they're not going to do that.
So if you were in leadership, is that what you would do? You would say, here's the clean CR plus
yes,
$100 billion for disaster, $10 billion for farmers. And that's it.
If I were in leadership, because those are the most important things right now. Our farmers.
Do you think President-elect Trump would agree to that?
I don't know. I think he would. It makes sense. I think.
This is without the debt limit increase that he's asking for.
You know, the debt limit is a whole nother issue. We could handle that before he gets in office, and that's why I was saying that we are going to be working day one. They've already told us to stay over the weekends. Our schedule has come out between January 3rd and January 20th. We can handle the debt limit before he gets in office. That's what he's saying, I believe. But there's time to do that. But first and foremost, we have got to make sure that our farmers are taken care of and our disaster victims are taken care of. That's what America's all about.
All right, and let's talk to Bill. He's in Riceville, Tennessee, independent. Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am. How are you doing?
Good.
If I've been trying to get hold through Congressman Fleischman ever since 2006, trying to tell him that a federal lottery would help the United States a whole lot by giving the United States more money to work with to pay our national debt off, and we would put a lot more people back to work, seriously dropping the unemployment rate for the United States. And I don't know what else to say, but...
okay, we'll get a response on a lottery.
Bill, I assume he lives in Tennessee. Chuck Fleischman's a friend of mine. He's in appropriations as well. I will give him that message on the House floor today and see if his staff can find your correspondence and try to get back to you. I know he cares about his constituents.
Also in Tennessee, this time in Oak Ridge, Steve, a Democrat. Good morning, Steve.
Hey, good morning. I would like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah. And I have an issue with the congressman here. He is all about the Farm Bill. And the fact is, I lived in North Carolina for 45 years, and I saw two families become multimillionaires off of subsidies. So, I don't get that. And then out of his mouth comes, let's help the farmers, but then let's cut SNAP. So which is it? You want to help the farmers? I understand. You want people to eat? Explain it to me. And one question, did you sign Grover Norquist's promise not to raise taxes?
Yes, I did early on. I do not believe in raising taxes. We don't have an income problem, a revenue problem in America. We have a spending problem. As far as families go that are farming, there are all levels of family farms in America. Yes, some are wealthy. Some have thousands of acres in their family farms that they have grown over the years, accumulating land and have many members of their family, and others, employees. They are employers. They are small businesses. Yes. So some of these farms are worth a lot of money. The average size farm, though, in America is around 500 acres. But there are some farmers who are farming 100-acre farms, 200 acres, and then there's sharecroppers. And so, yeah, there's different levels of farms in America, and some have million-dollar farms. The average price for an acre of land in our district is about $20,000 now. And so when you have a 300-acre farm, even, that's a lot of money. When it comes to the SNAP program, we need to provide, under the 12 titles of the Farm Bill, the aid for our farmers, the conservation programs, but we are adding $295 million to the Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program. The Democrats will say there's cuts. We are tightening up the work requirements for SNAP, but we've also got to go after the waste, abuse, and fraud in this system. $34 million a day. And I asked the Secretary of Ag, Mr. Vilsack, he was before our committee this last year. I said, if we go after waste, abuse, and fraud, is that a cut to SNAP? And it's on the record. He said this on video. No, it is not. Because that's going to mean more aid for families who are truly in need. Look, we live in the greatest nation known to man, and I truly believe that as blessed as we are by God Almighty, we should be helping those out who truly cannot work. But SNAP should not be a lifestyle. It should be a life vest. It's temporary, supplemental, and it should be nutritious. Let me tell you one more thing about SNAP. You know the number 2 ingredient, the number 2 thing bought with SNAP right now? Sugary drinks, $4 billion a year. Our obesity rate in America right now is 40%, and it's much higher with SNAP families. The American taxpayers are subsidizing the obesity crisis in America, which is then putting pressure on Medicare and Medicaid. So we've got to get nutrition back in the program. We've got to make sure that people who are truly hungry and can't work, we are helping them out. Thank you.
This is Rod in Tuckahoe, New York, Independent Line. Good morning.
Good morning. I have a question about the pay raise. I'm wondering why they want a pay raise when half of Congress are millionaires, and when they leave after a 10-year career, let's say, in the House or the Senate, they're 25% richer. They're 20 times more wealthy than the people they represent. I can't see a pay raise when all they do is yell and scream at each other and don't perform for us.
Very good point. And I tend to agree with you, sir. Let me just walk you back a little through history on this. I make $174,000 a year. I believe the senators make the same. It's the most money from a paycheck that I've ever made in my life. And there are 2 types of people up here in Washington. People like me that this is the most money they've ever made. And then millionaires who have more or less contributed their own campaigns to get here. I did not do that. I went to the people of whom I'm going to represent to help me get here. And so when we get here, there is a lot of intransigence in our system. And so it's hard to justify, even though we haven't had a cost of living adjustment in 16 years. It is set up in the appropriations process that we should be making the same as federal judges, which is somewhere between $235,000 and $245,000. I don't think we deserve that right now. What this was doing, and it's not a 40% pay raise, they're not going back and reclaiming all that money and bumping the salary up to $245,000. It was, for 1 year, a cost of living adjustment of 3.8%, which is about, I think, $6,000. But I don't think we deserve that. I don't think we need to even be broaching the topic of a pay raise for us until we get America back on track. And that's part of America First. We are servants here, and we've got to remember that. We are here for the public, to be their servants, their voice, and their vote in Washington.
You know, Congressman, Elon Musk did tweet out, quote, "How can this be called a continuing resolution if it includes a 40% pay increase for Congress?" As you just explained, that is not true.
Well, I don't know where he was getting his information. We did research on this. Our staff and I, we looked at this, and this is for 1 year cost of living adjustment, 3.8%. Now, if you went back to all those years, yes, it would be 40%, and maybe that's what he's talking about.
He's got over 200 million followers on X, as you know. Something like this going out.
Yes, we got many calls in our office, and some good friends of mine called and said, "What in the heck are you doing?" They didn't use the word heck. Giving yourself a 40% pay raise. And I said, "Where'd you get that?" And they said, "We got it off X." I said, "Let me do some research." And, you know, sometimes we get things mixed up in the passion of the moment. People are very passionate about this, but I'm big on facts, and I want to get it right.
Frank in Helendale, California, Democrat.
Hey, good morning.
Morning, Frank.
Hi, Frank.
Hey, thank you for your service, sir. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I just want to get back to the basics of government funding. I'm a former government employee. I'm former law enforcement. I live in California, and I know what government shutdown does because it affected my family. I did 28 years as federal law enforcement, and it does affect people, and sometimes people don't understand that. And I understand both sides of the aisle have to negotiate. Everyone wants a little bit of something, but the bottom line is, you know, the people that serve you as government employees, they get affected really bad because they don't get a paycheck. You know, and this has seemed like it's ongoing all the time because both sides of the aisles can't get along or they can't come to a reasonable thing. You said something about earlier about they didn't want to pass the government funding because it might affect President Trump. Well, that's the reason why I didn't vote this year on either for president at all, because we need to get down to the basics. Let's take care of business and just pay our employees. If we have to do a separate bill, let's do it. But we got to keep that government going because people depend on their paychecks. I know you're in a tough situation sometimes, but let's go across the aisle and let's come to agreement because we need to keep this government funding. And I'm sure you guys can work things out later down the road. Agriculture, I'm very familiar with it. I'm originally from Bakersfield, California, and there's a lot of ag out there. So, sir, please, let's get on the floor. Let's take care of business and just avoid this government shutdown. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank, and I appreciate your service through your federal employment here. One of the issues that we have, and Elon and Ramaswamy have pointed this out. I pointed it out 2 years ago when I first got here and wanted to go inside the two bureaus that we have oversight on, the Ag Committee and Small Business Committee. I wanted to go to the SBA and visit people, and I wanted to go to the USDA and visit people. They would not let us in the building. A sitting member of Congress, we introduced the CABO Act, the Congressional Access to Bureaucratic Offices, saying that members of Congress can actually go in these buildings. We later found out the reason they did not want us in there is because the government workers are not at their desk. And now that it's starting to come out, I tried to bring this up in the news and others, and no one really attached to it as a story. But it is a fact that just down the road here, you can almost see it from this building we're in right now, the United States Department of Agriculture, which has 2 million square feet of office space. I've heard it's a beautiful building. I can't get inside. Only 6% of the people are working there at any given time. Now, there are people who work successfully from home, but there are others who are not doing their jobs, and that's why our congressional offices are being flooded daily with constituents, taxpayers, and Republicans, Democrats, independents, and politically agnostic, who the government is holding on to their money, Social Security benefits, disability benefits, veterans benefits, IRS refunds, and not giving them the money that's due them, and they're not giving the services because they don't have a number to call to get someone live on the phone. And so they call our office, and we're able to be problem solvers for them. It shouldn't be that way. We've got to start treating people more like clients instead of second-class citizens.
Congressman, we're almost out of time, but I want to ask you real quick about your colleague, your GOP colleague, Congressman Loudermilk, has said that he is in favor of the FBI investigating former Representative Liz Cheney over her involvement in the January 6th committee. What do you think?
I think Representative Loudermilk is on to something there. I've met with him. He had released a report out of his committee about the whole January 6th debacle, that the National Guard was not called in, although Trump wanted them in. They stayed 2 miles away. They did not come in. It's all on record. It's all through testimony. I think we need look, we need to get this right on January 6th, and the committee that was held before I even got here was not the right way to do it. Nancy Pelosi kept people off the committee, which would have helped bring about the facts. Do we not want the facts and the truth in America?
Nancy Pelosi kept Democrats off.
Kept Republicans like Jim Jordan off the committee, and hand-selected the 2 Republicans that were on that committee to make it so-called bipartisan. The truth has not come out on January 6th. I don't know if America has the appetite. Some feel like, oh, we just need to move on. I kind of feel that way. But if we don't get this right and the facts come out, like Representative Loudermilk is trying to extract the facts, then this could happen again. And we don't need that in America.
Representative Mark Alford, a Republican of Missouri on the Committees of Armed Services and Agriculture. Thanks so much for joining us.
My pleasure.